Solis Dyer. Say what's up to the world.
Hey, what's going on, folks? This is Reg or Saul. Most folks in the South call me Solace. And of course, the folks on the East Coast call me Reggie. I'm Big Mike's best friend in the world. And we've been rocking for about 15 years. Long time. I'm happy to be on to the podcast, by the way. I think I'm the first guest, right?
First guest.
That's awesome.
Yes. So, with this special podcast with this guest, I want to do a very interesting topic that we don't see a lot, especially in our community today, which is loyalty. And I feel that loyalty is a very key factor when you're talking about friendship, business, relationships, all the above, and how loyalty could take things farther in life more than what you can do today. So with this podcast, I want to talk about how loyalty, friendship could last a lifetime. That's the topic of today's podcast. So with that said, I introduce myself, Mike. So introduce yourself to the world.
Sure.
And so I just want to start out as far as how did we meet? How did we meet? Where did we meet? And how did we get this whole friendship thing started?
Okay, so first thing, since it's your podcast, Big Mike, I want your take on the first day we met each other, because I've told my story a few times, not for your podcast, but this is your baby. Let me know your thoughts on when we first met, and then I'll give the world my part of that.
All right. So the first time I met Solis, I moved to Tallahassee from Orlando. I had I want to say a rocky start to my college years at Alabama State. So I went back home to Orlando, and I wanted to get back to that whole college vibe. So one of my cousins told me about Tallahassee Community College to get things back in motion, and I moved up to Tallahassee, registered for summer classes. And one of the summer classes I took was, I think, prep math. I forgot what was the actual name of the pre-math class that I took. So I didn't know nobody. The only people I kind of knew was like a couple of people I went to high school. But they're doing their thing up in Tallahassee at their prospective college. So when I'm going to Tallahassee Community College, I don't know nobody. I'm taking this pre-math class, and I think the first day I came to class, I think I came in trying to rep my band organization, coming in for fatigues and represent my organization. And next thing you know, I see this dude trying to dress fly. Well, he is dressing fly and everything, and he saw something in me. I didn't know we had math class together, and from that point, everything was just rocking in from there. As far as I know, we took a very challenging math course that we linked up with other people who was having a little difficulty with these the course, and we study up. We study, me, Solis, another guy, a couple of females, and we just try to get through the math class. And somehow, even though everybody went out and do their little thing after that math class, this dude rocked with me afterwards. And after that math class, it was straightforward.
All right, so let me give them the recap of that, because I my memory is a little sharp. So I remember that vividly. That was my first class as a student at TCC. TCC is Tallahassee Community College. I did not have the enough credits to get into Florida State because my high school grades were piss poor, right? So all the folks in that class, it was basically high school math. You needed to take 2 of those courses to get to pass that in order to get in order to be able to take college level math. So that's what it was. Of course, I served in the military for years, and they still looked at my high school transcripts to see if I was ready for college math. Of course, I wasn't. This was part A. There was a part A and a part B of the class. The high school, not the high school, but the course teacher was Jamaican, and she was very blunt. I don't remember her name, but she was very blunt. She had a Jamaican accent. Of course, we're in Florida, by the way. And so the class was maybe about, 10 to 15 people, maybe slightly more. I remember that. And there was only 3 boys in the class, 3 guys, right? 3 guys, the rest were girls. The guys, of course, since it was only 3, and this is my first college class, but outside the military, because I took some college courses in the military. It was me, well, I should say that correctly. It was Mike, a guy named Tobias, and myself. Right? It was us 3 as the only guys in the class, and it was at least 10 to 15 other girls in the class. I do remember that. Being a redheaded, not redheaded, but a red-blooded male. You can see there's a lot of women taking this same course also, right? I think I even started talking to one of them. I think she had a kid. She had like a 3-year-old or whatever. And me and her started, talking a little bit after the class. But I remember Mike. And so this was, of course, a challenging class for us. And what I was going to do was saying, all right, I know since I was in the military, I had my own place. So I was like, all right, let me go ahead and invite the boys over so we can study up for this test that they had, right? So this was in the summer, matter of fact, summer 2005. I remember that. And how they split the courses up, they split it up into a summer A and a summer B. Remember, I just mentioned that this was summer A, right? So there was in another, I think, 6 weeks or maybe 4 weeks, however they divided it, there was going to be a brand new math course that we had to take if we passed this one. So each week, she was going to test us on the topics at hand, high school math, all right? And so I was like, all right, after class or whatever, after school lets out, most people take 1 or 2 summer courses for the summer semester at TCC. And I was like, hey, sometime in the evening or early afternoon, won't you guys come over to my house so we could study up? I know I am terrible at math. I'm trash. Horrible. So I was like, I need all the help I can get, which leads into one of the friends that we met and that Mike's going to talk about. All math. So math kind of linked up multiple friends of mine that I still talk to this day. So Mike was in there, Tobias was in there, and we came to my house. I had a little kind of dining set that, a little table set, you play spades on or whatever, and we all just opened up our textbooks and tried and studied from there. So I had Mike's number, had Tobias's number, and we just linked up. We was like, yo, let's try to pass this course. It ended up being the only class I've ever taken with Mike. So it's crazy how things line up, bro. That's the only course my first and only college course I've ever had with you. And you ended up being one of, if not my best friend. It's definitely from college by far. We still talk to this day. We link up, we talk weekly. And it ended up being from that one college course that honestly I don't even think I passed. And if I passed it, it was probably with a C or something. It was something crazy. But to lay that in is we developed loyalty in that class because there was I coming from working hospitality, I always went to college with like a button-down shirt and a tie, something like that. I had my dress slacks on. What I would do is if I was working hospitality at the time, so I would just come dressed like that. I would come in with, slacks, my dress shoes, like I was either coming coming from working at the front desk or going to working at the front desk. And that was kind of my college garb, unless I had a day off and I would come in with like regular, urban gear or whatever. So I remember like when I took a picture with our friend Antonio, I had like my blue shirt on, some jazzy tie or whatever like that, getting from like Burlington or whatever. and of course, all the other college kids, they're wearing, what they want. They wearing their urban gear, the sneakers, the blah, 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 the athletic gear. And so that kind of set me apart. But also I was older being on the college campus. And I think, Mike, you were too, because you already did college in Alabama. So this wasn't our first quote unquote college stint. I was 4 years older than almost everyone on the campus. Almost, because some people come in to doing college late, like I did. So I am 24, 25 on college campus. Or not, I won't say that. I was maybe 22, 23 on the college campus, and some folks 18, 19. You know what I mean? So, I'm clearly a little older. Like I said, I got my own car because I served in the military, and of course also had my own place. Like I didn't live with anyone the first year. So that link up was kind of cemented our bond, from that math course that we were, of course, struggling in. And we kind of grew from there.
And you kind of point out something that I was going to get ready to go into, is just how we assistance one another, and how you kind of express how you had some struggle with math.
Still do.
And I had some struggle with math because I'm definitely not a math wizard. So when we help each other in that math course, it helped us get through the math class when we was taking the tests. But also, there's times where I feel like we both help each other out when we have life situations.
Always.
Whether it's moving to a new place.
Yep. Always helping me move.
Or moving out. Because I remember it was a situation where the place I was staying with my cousin, I'm already getting ready to move out, but I had nobody to help me. So I'm like, hey, Solis, you got any free time? Would you mind helping me move my stuff to the new place I'm moving to?
Oh, yeah, I remember that.
Yeah.
What street did your cousin live off of? It was a little small apartment complex.
Yeah, was
that Tennessee?
No, that was...
It was another street, okay.
Yeah, it was still on... It was still on Tharp.
Tharp. That's what it was.
Down.
It was further down. It was like a wooden apartment. I remember. Yep, it was on Tharp. Okay, all right, yeah. And, I remember that day.
He helped me out, move my stuff out, but come to find out, the same apartment I'm moving into, I don't know if it's you already moved in that apartment or you getting ready to move in that apartment.
I don't know. I know I lived in Berkshire twice. That was when I had my own place.
That's when I met you.
And then I moved back into it the year 3 of being there.
Right.
And then the second year was Village on Tharp, and that's where I lived with Dan, Joe, the other dude, what's his name? Kane. Forgot his real name, but yeah.
And so from that, we always assisted each other, whether it's helping move with each other's stuff, or
My boys helped me move every year, and that's the thing too. I didn't sit down. Now, looking back at it, I should have kept my single apartment. I should have kept my single apartment that I lived in Berkshire, like that I met Chandra in, and everything else like that. I should have just kept it all 4 years that I was there, but I didn't. I did not do that, like a fool.
What was the apartment that I guess you was moving from when I came to Tallahassee, and then I had your bed. No, what was it? I had something, but you had your bed on top of your.
And it flew off when we was going down Tharp. I remember that day. my bed been through a lot, including landing on the street when it it was on top of the Explorer and it fell down. Okay, yeah. I was moving back to Village. No, I think I was moving from the solo apartment.
Okay.
And we had to take the back roads to get down to Berkshire, where me and Tonio had the place.
Right.
And the 2-bedroom in Berkshire. That's where it had to be.
Okay.
Yeah, because my journey was living in Berkshire Manor, and then from Berkshire Manor, all my friends lived in Village on Tharp. before they because it's now not Village on Tharp, but they changed the name, by the way.
all the time.
Yeah, all the time. But at the time we lived there, it was Village on Tharp, and that was like the hood of college places. Like it was all college students that lived there. It was college housing, but it wasn't as like fancy as like the Florida State ones. But like you had a mix of some FAMU students that lived there, and it was a good environment of college students, Village on Tharp, and it had college style setting to where there was like 4 bedrooms in a common living area. Some places had 3, like I think you lived in a 3. Yeah. I lived in a 4, and I remember this was of course 2006, going into 2007. It was $315 a month, which is super stupid cheap. But of course you had to share that space with 3 other people. So Dan was actually funny. I was looking at the place, and Dan interviewed me because he was always home, because he was the maintenance man, basically. Dan was the maintenance man that lived there, worked in the apartment complex. Either he worked at that apartment complex or someplace else. And he interviewed me to see if I would be a good roommate. And we started talking about PSO for hours. It was weird. And that's what had me move in to where Dan lived, in that vacant apartment. He was, of course, having issues with the young, folks, because it's a party community, basically. And I was a little older, and we connected with PSO, because that was the RPG I was playing at the time. And I ended up missing my afternoon class because I was stupid and took like an evening class like a dumbass. And yeah. Yeah.
I want to speak on something that I feel like you can't help me more than I help you, but the one thing I remember a lot in the beginning years was we had a lot of good times, but we also had bad moments where, we was down. I want to say we was down on our lucks, but also down with our hearts. A couple breakups,
Yeah.
A couple of fire-ins, couple of shifting around with jobs.
Yep.
And I know, you was always, especially I want to say, I ain't gonna say no names, but I feel like when I introduced Solus, somebody I was talking to who I felt like was gonna be a potential, that was like the first time I ever introduced him to a woman who I was talking to at the time. And the crazy thing about it is, I still got that picture on my Facebook, like one of them collages.
I took the picture?
No, somebody else took the picture.
Of
You
y'all.
was in the picture.
Oh, really? Oh, wow. You got to show me that.
It was you. I guess a friend of yours that was like in the service.
Vanessa, maybe?
Yeah.
Okay.
Like very light skinned, big glasses.
Y'all came to my party.
Yes.
This is when I was living Berkshire the first time in my own apartment. I had a couple of parties there. Yeah, you and C came down. I guess we won't say her name.
Yeah.
You and C came down, and then Vanessa popped up, and we all took the picture. Wow, it was in the kitchen, because the kitchen had its own door. Yeah, it was 2 doors to that apartment. It was the front door, and then the kitchen had its door to where you could just leave out the kitchen. And that's where the picture was taken. Wow, I haven't seen that picture in 15 years. Funny. Oh, yep, that's the picture right there. Wow. Well, yeah, we're going to show the picture for the stream, but that's the picture right there. That's funny. Yeah.
So,
see, I remembered it, right?
Yep. But, it was just, he was there when I got my heart broken,
Yeah.
And,
Oh, and vice versa, too.
Yeah.
You was there when S whipped my ass. You was there. My boys see me get beat down from that. A lot of domestic violence happening there. But, they seen that. They seen me get through that. The ups and downs with that. Getting with my C. With that, you've seen that. And I think you also met T, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I remember that too. So we got the ex-girlfriend's name initials. But yeah. So that was ups and downs. So with the jobs you mentioned, jobs too. I know you was going from Greyhound to Target. I got fired from Ramada. I remember that because that was the job I had when I first moved to Tallahassee, and that's the job I was working, either 3 to 11 shift. Sometimes I would do the 7 to 3 shift, and I got let go from that. And then I had to. It took me like maybe 2 or 3 months to find another job. So I was just living off of my GI Bill, which luckily helped me out. But it was a lot of bad food I was doing. I was doing TV dinners, matter of fact, when I got let go from Ramada. And I didn't find, because they let me go in, I think, October, and I didn't find something until like mid-January. And that's when I started working at the Holiday Inn Select, where I met my homie Danielle, Winchella Renee. Shout out to them. I put this on the Facebook. Still cool on Facebook with them. Lena, shout out to Lena. And I held that job down for a couple of years, actually. But yeah, so it was some ups and downs with that. And I know you going, like I said, from the Greyhound to the Target. I remember you having to travel out the Appalachian Parkway. I dropped you off at work a couple times because I had a vehicle. Yeah, and all those things. But since, remember, we met in July, if I'm not mistaken. I put it like this for all my military folks that are going to watch this video here. I got out the military in June 2005. I met Mike in my first college class, July 2005, and we've been rocking ever since. We only took one class. That was that July 2005 introductory to like college math or something like that. And then we had that 6-week class. Like I said, I think I failed it. I don't remember passing that. I might have. And then, because I think I had to take it again, matter of fact. Either I passed that and then didn't pass the other one. This is being transparent. And then had to, go on to different maps and things like that they had selected. Me and Mike have been rocking ever since then. And that's the truth. That's loyalty. That's between breakups and makeups. That's between job loss and job gain. That's actually, and he actually left Tallahassee, matter of fact. You left at a time. And that was a tough time too, because remember, this is one of my loyal dudes. I always tell my people here in DC or Maryland, that I got a loyal friend that from college, and this is when my boy Scott, shout out Scott's gonna see this. That's when Scott had moved away to go play football in Kansas. And he's the reason I moved to Tallahassee. Shout out to Edie, that's gonna see this, Sean Edie, of course Big Mo, and of course T-Pain will become the this is when T-Pain's I'm in Love with a Stripper was coming out. We'd be at Edie's house playing Halo, watching Dave Chappelle show. All this other stuff was happening right around that same time that I met my homie Mike right here. And we've been through ups and downs, but that's life. That's what the podcast is titled this week. It's loyalty. You got your friends that'll do anything for you, and vice versa. Mike's come down here to help me, rearrange the place, or, I go through a breakup with another T, that I caused that breakup. And then he was able to say, hey, look, once you get in the gym, you can still pick yourself up. Life ain't over. And to me, life was over. You know what I mean? So things like that. Him with C, with that, I had to get him through that. I mean? He had to get me, and years later, he paid me back, getting me through my breakups, and we that's what friends do. Real friends help you through your tough moments, and also can be able to be there to genuinely, congratulate you on your accomplishments. Real talk.
So, with the accomplishments and the grinding that we've been doing, I want to speak on the hustle, because would you transition from the Ramada and go to the Holiday Inn, and you have some other stuff going on that you get on that grind and everything. And I don't think what a lot of people don't understand is whether it's one is up or one is down, we're always trying to lift each other up when it comes to the hustle, to the grind. And I know there's times where even if I didn't have enough, or I didn't have any at all to help like pay the phone bill, you will always.
I know you remember that one. Yeah, that was a big one. We've had talks like this, so to give you guys kind of a frame of reference. Mike and myself, we would always have these type of talks. It'll be late at night. He'll come off work. He'll say, "Hey, Reg or Soul," because he calls me Soul, which is no problem with that. "What you doing?" I'm here chilling, maybe playing a game or whatever. And he was like, "Yo, can I come through?" "Yeah, come through." He said, "Oh, I'm coming through." And we'll just sit outside on the step of Village of Tharp and talk for hours. And we just rap. You know what I mean? Mike will wrap you up. So my friends know that here. I said, Mike will wrap you up. But that's what we built the friendship off of. You know what I'm saying? Is talking. So think about it. Mike had a friend in me. I didn't say much, but I was always an ear. And I learned that in the Air Force too. Sometimes you don't got to talk all the time. Sometimes you could be a great friend just by listening. And Mike did most of the talking. Mike can rap, and so he'd be talking my ear off, but I was always there to listen. And so what happens with that, remember, you're building stages of loyalty within friends. There's girls out here, there's guys out here that got people that sometimes they just need to vent to. Your real friends will understand that. There's times where Mike call and I'm busy or whatever, and I'm like, all right, man, I know that's going to be an hour or two talk. But there's other times there too, it's like he may need to get something off his chest. I may maybe, now it doesn't happen too much, but I maybe need to get something off my chest, and we'll rap to each other, and that's what we do. We'll talk late nights after work, just talking, and that's what builds the loyalty bonds that we have today. He's Haitian, I'm Panamanian, right? Facts. Both. I'm born here. I think you're born here too, right?
Yep.
Okay, yeah, both born in America. First generation, of course, American, but our parents are, his is Haitian, mine is Panamanian, right? And we linked off one class. One fluky class, really. Because if the tides had changed on anything else, he would have been in college math or I would have been in college math, and we never would have linked. Yep. We met in that one class. And you ended up having a bond that lasted 15 years, and it's going to last clearly through life.
Now, here's the thing that, I kind of spoke to you a little bit that I wrote down, especially with that bond.
I want to talk a little bit more about that hustle, too.
Oh, yeah, definitely.
Yeah, I want to talk about that.
Let's talk about that. Like I said, we always grinding for where we're trying to get, whether it's, a higher in promotions, getting that money. We always hustle. Even if we didn't have much, we were always finding something to do to get that grind. And, with me not having a car back then, and just whether I'm walking or taking a bus and everything, you will always see me constantly. Excuses.
No excuses. I'm telling you, folks that tune in to the Dark Night Truth podcast, right? Truth Talk. The main reason Mike is one of my loyal best friends is because of his hustle, right? Disclaimer. I only moved to Tallahassee to play football. And it was hard going to TCC because I wanted to go right into Florida State. I wanted to maximize my opportunity to make it to the football team, right? That's the only reason I'm there. I could have went to the University of Miami. It's a better climate. Tallahassee gets cold. If folks up here don't know that. It's called Lower Alabama for a reason. That shit gets cold. And there's no beach in Tallahassee. It's not like Panama City where there's a beach and shit. No. It's not. It gets cold. There's no beach. You gotta, I think, what was the beach called down there? I took S down there one time to it, but whatever. You had to go down to the Panhandle to go down to the beach. Yeah. What was it called? Something. No, not that. It was another island or whatever. I think you was about to say it, but whatever. It'll come back to me. But you had to travel like 45 minutes to an hour to get to the beach.
Pensacola?
No, it wasn't Pensacola. It was like a southern beach or whatever.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, but anyway, so what made Mike become a lifelong friend is his hustle. I saw him, hustle to try to get like a bed, get a couch, get things for the place when he got his place again in Village of Tharp with Jessica. Shout out to Jay. And I saw that, I saw him move and try to make moves with to get different things that he didn't have the money to have. And that's what the hustle that I needed to try to make this football team as a walk-on. There was no scholarship. There was me saying, all right, I'm trying to get my mom a house. To me, my quickest route to get the house is to make that football team make some plays, make something shake, and maybe get into the Arena League or the NFL, something. I wanted to get out of the struggle. Most kids want to, right? And I went to college with that goal in mind. So imagine having a friend who's about his hustle, that knows, the first generation American immigrant type of mindset you got to have. Our parents don't have much. Let's try to make something shake to get something. And I saw that within Mike. That's what made us tight throughout everything. I noticed one thing is Mike's not going to be lazy. Even to this day, making things shake. I start streaming, boom. He says, okay, let me look into that. I play games too. Let me make something happen here. Boom, he started streaming. And he's taking it to different levels. Moving up to play football, to wrestle. That's the same type of mindset I had when I moved to Tallahassee to play football. Your friends are what they say, like fractions or figments of what you really are, whether you like it or not. And I got my motivation in my downtimes from seeing his motivation through the struggle, and little things like that. All of that makes a bond for friendships for life.
And you know what? The best thing about the friendship is how you connect with other people who we didn't know, and they become a part of our circle. So the one thing I know that became a big factor in both of our lives is how we linked up with other people who we didn't know, but they became longevity friends.
Yep.
And I remember introducing, and the funny thing is, since you mentioned her name, big out to Jessica Diggs, one of my closest friends who I met at Alabama State.
That's the homie.
The crazy thing is, you met Jessica the same time that I met S.
Wow. Okay.
because
that's crazy.
Because remember,
Yeah.
when you was talking to S at the time, you was actually out on a dinner date.
Wow.
And,
Wow. Okay.
Like I'm shocked remembering too that time. So when I met S, that was the first time you met Jessica.
Wow. I remember taking her out on something. I didn't know that I ran into y'all.
Right.
Totally didn't.
And so
Wow.
that was that's the first time I met her.
Wow. And y'all still tight to this day. That's crazy.
Yeah.
It's crazy bonds like that, right? So we had a little nerdy little gaming, I can't say gaming, but a nerdy little clique, right? Jay, Jessica is of course a part of that. S, of course, that Mike is still contacted to. Of course, that's one of my exes. It was S who introduced me to Antonio. She knew I was struggling with math. And she was like, yo, I got a friend who's gifted at math. Like literally, he's gifted at math. Let me introduce you to him. And so me and her are talking at this time, right? And she takes me to, of course, we both at TCC. And we go up, I think the second floor, because TCC had a first floor and a second floor in certain buildings. And he was up there, we introduced or whatever like that. He ended up being Panamanian too. So I was like, oh shoot. And we clicked, and basically what it was is I had to get on his schedule so he can kind of tutor me so I can be able to pass the math class, because he can get math just like that. That's his thing. Matter of fact, his major is math, which is crazy, because I would never major in something like that. But it was that link. I'm still tight with Jessica. Jessica came down to Antonio's wedding. We was right there, like we never met.
But the funny thing is, going in that perspective. So there was a time I was already moving. I was already living in Orlando. Jessica settled in Tallahassee. There was a time where I felt like, yeah, I'm gonna move to Tallahassee. So me and her looking for apartments. That's when we linked up with you. You was living at Berkshire. That was the same day that I got introduced to Antonio.
Wow. Okay.
We went out, like we was doing something. We came back to your place. Antonio doing Antonio things.
Yep.
And
No, that was a couple years after, because of course that was like the fourth year. Yeah,
Right.
when you came back, he had L in the place.
yeah,
Yeah. Hilarious. Also, shout out, rest in peace to my homie Michelle, because Michelle was also with us.
yes,
I remember that too. And shout out to Michelle. She of course passed away, I think in 2008, if I'm not mistaken. It was a car accident. The homie from Maryland. It was crazy meeting someone from Maryland, where I live currently. Being down there in Tallahassee, she was real game tight. I know a couple of my folks wanted me to get together with her. We was always tight, always platonic. And she was with us, matter of fact, that day. So shout out to Michelle. Shout out to her kids. Miss you every day. She was a part of the crew. Yeah.
and and from the moment that I moved back to Tallahassee in 2009, because like I said, I lived in Tallahassee for a couple of years.
And that was a funny day.
Moved back to Orlando, Florida, where I'm from, and then moved back to Tallahassee in 2009. That's when, Souls living at Brookshire. Me and Jessica decided that we're going to live in Brookshire too. But that's when I met Antonio. And then I met another dude that was a part of the fashion, which is David.
Yeah.
This guy named David who
Yeah.
went to Florida State,
Yeah.
to the National Guard,
Yeah.
and
We still cool to this day.
still cool.
Yeah.
And
David's like a professional poker player, by the way.
yeah.
I think he's still serving as like a lieutenant. He may be a captain now. Shout out to Dave, being in there. He was Antonio's boy. Also shout out to Sam Alpha too. Another one of Antonio's friends, stayed with us for a little while. We was living in Berkshire. I haven't seen you in a couple of years, but if you see the video when it goes up to the Facebook, shout out to you, Sam, and your sister too, the Alphas. But yeah, Dave, one of the crew. You know what I mean?
And it's just so
Yeah.
crazy how me and Souls met in 2005, but branched out with other friends from my side
Yeah,
and his
friend,
side.
my side, yeah.
We didn't even know none of these people.
Nope. I didn't know Dave,
Somehow.
Antonio. I didn't know Jess until you introduced. Y'all didn't know Sean. S. Sorry.
Didn't know us.
Yeah.
And next thing you know, it just that became the crew. That became the crew.
That became the crew,
for,
yeah.
And it's just crazy how two guys met from a class and end up meeting other people who end up helping each other out one way
In
or
different
another.
ways. Yep.
Different ways.
In different ways. It was crazy. Funny story too. Is two things I wanted to talk about with that. Funny stuff. Antonio's, or I guess it's ex-fiance now, or ex-wife. Yeah, Antonio's ex-wife now met her best friend through me when I was coming down to Florida, and they became best friends. So that's how it was. That's college life was always like that. I meet a chick in Florida. I'm going down there to see what's good, and it's in the same city that my boy Antonio was in. He's dating his girlfriend at the time, and his girlfriend and the chick who I was trying to talk to end up linking because it's the same city, and they end up. I think they both were Jamaican. Matter of fact, their parents are Jamaican, and they end up being best friends. And that's how it kind of was. It was like the whole little circle. Even if certain parts don't talk to it, we still would branch off, and you'll get like lifetime friends from that. Even if certain situations, the original situations, didn't work out.
Yeah.
And that's kind of how it, like I said, it happened with Antonio's ex-wife and the chick who I was talking to. They end up being tight. She was in the bridal party, you know what I mean? Something like that. So look, things like that, it was always happening like that,
And speaking of, because one of the things that we talked about almost on a daily basis, whether it's in person or on the phone, is relationships. And of course, we both had good relationships, bad relationships that kind of like deteriorate from one situation from another. But it was always like we always like you never hear a lot among men to talk about their I won't say sensitive side, but just the idea of two grown men just talking about girl issues. You know, you hear a lot with women talk about boys issue or their boyfriend doing this and this, but you really never really hear, especially back in them days, that guys could talk about their feelings about relationships, whether they're single or they're going through with a relationship that they're dealing with. And I know, like I said, the person who I introduced him, who broke my heart, you know, it was, I was happy that I could say I could talk to another guy about this heartbreak. And ever since then, you know, we always kind of figure out what is it that what women want or what the things that we need to do to better ourselves to say we're a good catch with a woman. But it was always, we always find topics and situations about talking about relationships. But the one interesting thing that I could say that Solus has been, honestly, I want to say before anyone else, is the fact if I'm telling him about a woman who I'm talking to or who I'm dating, and somewhere down the line, me and that person click, he actually been the first guy that actually I introduced him and like, hey, this is a girl who I'm talking to, whether I'm meeting the person from a dating site or whatever be the case. So for me not to sound too crazy of like where I'm meeting these women at, he got to see, if not all the women who I eventually met and did things, he got to see them firsthand. You know, from the E that I met, and then one of my exes that I dated from North Carolina,
Yeah.
China, he got to see her, even though I'm telling him all the crazy things about her, hood chick, smoking weed, and he know I'm not that type of person.
Right.
But he got to see her to be like, we was a match.
Yeah. And of course, Mike was at. You were able to see the girls who I dated in Tallahassee straight up. So if you had someone that was out of town, like C, you know, you're able to see my C, you're able to see S. You know what I mean? You know, two X's, and things like that. Even the ones that came down from here, from Maryland. You know, so, you know, it was that type of friendship where we didn't kick each other when we were down, and we also be able to give people that advice too when they need it. You know what I mean? Hey, you're doing this. You pick yourself up. You know, you could do this a little better. You know, what's your thoughts on this? You know, things like that. You know, typical guy talk, but always trying to learn from your mistakes. You know, and that's a big part of loyalty too. Is having you don't have yes men around you, and that's the thing that just because I say Mike is loyal, he's not a yes man. He'll be like, nah, I think you're doing this wrong, bro. You know, but that's also a dude that, he'll slam a person down for me too. Okay, hey, this dude messing with me or whatever. All right, Big Mike gonna come and boom, handle that. So you get the duality of loyalty and friendships is that, you know what I mean? I'm gonna help him out. He mentioned, like I said, paying the phone bill. I had the money at the time. Hey, we need to get your phone on. We talk damn near every night. You know what I mean? Well, that's my man. It's like, you don't gotta pay that back. It's cool. We're one. You know what I mean? What are you talking about? Like, of course I'm gonna handle that. You know what I mean? Like, come on, man. You see me down losing a job and having to, eat TV dinners for 3 months, and that was the true story. You know what I mean? You see me, be down with that. The loss of girlfriend, me crying in the corner like I'm freaking Mario Winans or Carl Thomas. He's seen that. You know what I mean? Like, yo, emotional ass Leo. That's me. So, he's seen all that. And so if he's down from, the North Carolina joint not working out, all right, I'm gonna be there to listen to what he's going through. Or he mentioned the online dating things. A lot of them things didn't work out. Of course, I'm gonna be able to listen to what's going on. And he did the same thing for me when I was going through my relationships in college.
But you also got to see my happy side when I actually was in these type of relationships at the time. And I think, for me, I would say I want to say the proudest moment that you really got to see me smile is when my crazy ex-girlfriend, China.
No names, no names. We're doing
I ain't
letters.
saying her real name.
Okay,
You know,
cool.
you can say China
Okay.
about
Yeah.
anyone can
I
say
like that.
China.
Okay, yeah.
So the fact that you was able to see my smiling,
Mm-hmm.
you know, just the fact that this person came down to Carolina
To be able to see you.
Christmas.
Yep.
And
That's big. That's
you
big.
know,
Yeah.
you see, we taking these little nice pictures or whatever, and
And that's what you wanted. That's what you wanted.
yeah,
We would talk about that. Like, it should be a renaissance coming soon. I would say that. Of guys that want the relationship, Yeah, so, you've always been that since 2005. So her taking the risk to be able to come down, and that made you happy because that's big. It's a lot of women. I'm not going. We don't say females here. It's women. They're afraid to take that risk. They feel the guy should be able to take that risk. So, us putting our kind of heart on the sleeve is a risk, especially for guys. A lot of us are not raised like that. But for her making that risk to be able to come on down says a lot, because normally we're the ones to go to, you know what I mean? And so on and so forth. So that put a lot of smiling on your heart, and I was happy I was there to see it. Nothing's forever, but it showed that something that you wanted could be attained.
Now, one of the biggest thing also that you got to see as well is, and again, like you said, when I explain situations about online dating and whether I'm talking to my cousin or other friends or colleagues, they ask me like, where do you meet these women? Like how all this happens. So they think I'm the crazy one when I say all these crazy stuff that's happening.
Mm-hmm.
But I remember a time that I'm talking to a woman that's living in Maryland, in
Mm-hmm.
Baltimore, and we were getting ready to meet. But since I'm coming to Maryland, I'm like, okay, bet. Let me see my boy before I see this woman.
Mm-hmm.
And I told him how this thing gonna go down. I'm going to Baltimore
Mm-hmm.
and everything. But the one thing that he did for me that he ain't had to, but he did anyway, was he was, talking to a woman himself. And since I'm meeting somebody in Baltimore, he was like, he gonna take his woman out on a lunch date in Baltimore while I'm meeting this person. So we
Oh
all
wow!
we all drive up
Yeah.
to Baltimore from DC, from the southern side of Maryland,
True.
and he doing his thing. I'm
True.
also meeting the person up in Baltimore. And that's real friendship to say, hey, I got your back. You ain't gotta spend the money to ride the train or whatever
Mm-hmm.
from DC to Baltimore. No.
Mm-hmm.
I'm gonna do my thing and you're gonna meet the woman.
Mm-hmm.
And then on top of that, with all the crazy talk and this and this and this, he knows I have particular types of women that I talk to. So when he got to see the woman that I'm talking to online, I don't lie. He see I don't lie of the women that I might be attracted to.
Mm-hmm.
But the biggest thing is he got to see firsthand that I don't meet strags or people who
Antonio.
I don't, I don't think I don't see myself clicking with. You
Mm-hmm.
see that I pick very, proper dress, proper standards type of women. And he got to see that firsthand.
Mm-hmm.
I brought her to the table, me and him,
Mm-hmm.
and he got to see like
We was
I
at
ain't
the
crazy.
It was at the seafood spot, right?
Yeah, I'm not crazy of the women who I meet online. And again, people might have they say so because they only going by the words that I'm telling them as well as the pictures.
Mm-hmm.
No, he got to see the pictures and the person herself.
Mm-hmm.
Even though things didn't go as is afterward, but the fact that anytime
It wasn't on you though.
True, it wasn't me.
Nah.
Even though
not on this one. Maybe some others, but
even though I can say all the crazy stories
Woo, buddy.
about who I meet online,
Yeah.
at least he could see firsthand that the people who I meet, he know I'm about that business.
Mm-hmm.
So again, you could say a lot of stuff to people, and they can only go by what you tell them.
Yeah.
But he got to see firsthand, majority each and every woman that I tell him who I'm talking to.
Yeah.
And so, again, and the biggest thing I could really say, hold on for a second, kind of broke out.
Mm-hmm.
This actually stopped itself before it hit the 30.
Okay.
That was nice.
Well, we still going here too, so I'll give you this video and we'll still have it. We have 51 minutes right now to my recording.
Okay. I got a couple more. And
Yeah. So real quick, until you get set up, what I'll say with this too is, for the people watching the vid, I know it's a lot, but this is kind of what we do is just talk. And I know there's ladies out there that you have your best friend or a friend who you just vent to. You might have met in college. You might have been, from high school, middle school. There's some of those too. Shout out. But it's always good to be able to have, like I said, loyal friends in your corner that will do much for you. I'll share this one too. Is Mike didn't have like material things. He wasn't the friend that was opulent and things like that. But I knew he was loyal from this. I've never been to Disney World. Mike worked in Disney World when he was in Orlando. The man, he noticed all the things I was doing for him, right? And I was like, I got to do these things. That's my man's. You know what I mean? I always would say that. Like, that's, big old king mattress, the big booty TV, the 50-inch TV that's upstairs right now. Him, Tonio, Dave, they helped me move that every year. 4 times every year. And, they didn't ask for money or anything like that, just like a pizza or something to fill them up. But those are my boys, right? We go ride in my truck and everything. And, and I remember there was one time he was like, so I don't have much, but I do got this. So, you and whoever, girl you talking to at this time, I got 2 tickets here. You can go to Disney World. Now, I was in college trying to play football, so I never took advantage of it. And that's a regret to this day. But that's the type of dude Mike is. He was like, he had 2 passes for any date, I think it was, or something like that, to go to Disney World, which it's expensive, by the way. I still have never been. But that's the type of dude he is. He had passes, and he was like, yo, you can go. You just show them at the gate this, and you can be able to go there. Remember, that's like a $200, something $100 value or whatever. It was at the time. But that's the type of friend he is, to where he may not have had monetary things to share, but whatever he had to share, you're damn right he will share it. That showed me loyalty. He didn't have to do that. I wasn't asking for that, by the way. That's my man's. You do, you don't ask for favors. That's another thing too. Holy shit. If you're real friends with a person, you're not asking for like payback. That's dead. Now, it's certain things that they repeatedly do it. Of course. You get the friend that's always asking for $20 or right now it's Cash App. All right. You know what I mean? But if you got a friend that they're there for you and they offer you something without you asking, loyal, you better keep that person, woman or man, in your corner. And that showed me, like I said, I never actually used the little ticket and traveled on to Disney World. Never. But that showed me the character that Mike was. And I'm sure people out there have high character friends in their circle. And if you don't, today could be a good day for you to make sure and you get some high character friends in your circle. It's not about, the glitz and glam. That's not what Mike about. That's, well, my Leo ass and maybe a little bit what I'm about, but that the friendship was never built on that. His hustle and his loyalty. Those were the two things. And that was an example right there. He didn't have to share that with me, but he did. And if I actually had some time to break and travel on down to South Florida to actually use that in Orlando, I would have. And it would have been me going to Disney World, living out a dream. But he presented the opportunity for me to do that just because he was my friend. And that's one of the many things. It wasn't the reason why I did what I did for Mike, but that's showing you the character that he is.
And just even touch on that, I always feel like with me understanding the prices back then and now, not everybody in life have the opportunity to go to these theme parks.
Facts.
See, me, theme parks.
You lived in Orlando, so it was there.
Yeah, but also I worked at them, so it's like I've already experienced everything. So the fact that for someone that I feel like I was close to, have your little fun.
Yep.
See what Disney World is, the hype, the talk is all about, because not everybody, even if you live in Orlando, have the opportunity to go to Walt Disney World. And I feel like, have your fun, do your thing. I did my thing, you should too.
Yeah.
Not everybody could say they experienced Disney World or Disneyland one time. And that's how I feel, I always want to feel like if I could do something to show my friends, have a little fun, or whatever, the way
you would
I
do
did.
that. Exactly. You would do that.
Definitely.
And you would do that. I remember when we traveled to South Florida, and maybe we were like 30 minutes or so from your mom. And we was down there. We was at Dave's house. I was posted at Dave's house. Dave got a nice house, by the way. His parents' house. I was in that motherfucker just chilling. And we saw Antonio's mom and things like that. And you had mentioned, it's been a little while since you've seen your mom. And I was like, dude, we're in South Florida. Let's go. And it ended up being the only time I met your mom, right? And I'm so glad because you didn't ask for us to go. You just mentioned that she lived in that vicinity.
Yep.
We were at Dave's house. We weren't down there to do that, by the way. We were just down, just chilling. Definitely see Antonio's mom. See Dave's folks. Yeah, I think it was like that, right? Because we did go to Miami. We saw Rick Ross in the Corvette. And I was like, nah, dude, what are you talking about? We saw Dave's peeps. Because I don't know if we met Dave's mom, but I know I met his father. Maybe like an uncle or a cousin or something. Yeah. Definitely Antonio's mom. And we was like, we just saw both of them family. We all drove down together, by the way. I think Antonio had his car. He drove his car, I think. And then we took mine. Or maybe we all hopped in the Explorer and just went down there. Whatever. And then I was like, nah, we got to go see your folks. Like, what are you talking about? And we ended up, like I said, coming through. It was in the hood. I don't know what the hood was called. But I remember the Jubilation. It was Little Haiti?
Yeah, the Little
Haiti. Oh, it was Little Haiti. Okay, yeah.
Okay.
There you go. Oh, yeah, it was a Little Haiti in Fort Lauderdale, because there's a Little Haiti in Miami, if I'm not mistaken. But listen, the jubilation on his mom's face warmed my heart. That made the entire trip, the whole 9-hour trip to get down there, worthwhile. One, I like driving, so I'm always taking my folks anywhere. I was in the military taking the girls places. I was in, the college life, taking my boys places. I like to drive. And the jubilation on Mom's face, rest in peace, Mom's, was everything. She was, first of all, so happy to see her son. And I don't know how long it's been at that moment in time that y'all didn't see each other. But meeting, your moms, the laughing between your Antonio and your cousin, we took pictures and everything. She toured us through the hood, you know what I'm saying, where she was. Like I said, she an OG. And that's what it was. She was an OG introducing, saying, this is my son. you know, and his friends, you know what I'm saying? We trailing behind and everything, and we seeing all the folks, you know, real shit, real hood shit going on. But moms was so happy to see her son come back. It was like the native son returned. Those are little things. How are we gonna be in South Florida and not go see your folks? You know what I mean? Little things like that, man. That's the little things you do for your friends. And this is not like bragging or anything. I would want my friends to do that for me too. And Mike's done that too. Come down from New York and help me move these logs in the backyard. And Mike would do that shit. You know what I mean?
And speaking of growth.
Yeah. It's all growth, man. Good segue.
You know, we did a lot of dumb shit.
Oh yeah.
And we went through dumb shit. But the one thing is, we learn from a lot of immature mistakes.
Yeah.
And we grow, not just mentally and physically, but also, you know, I would say one of the big steps that I see, you know, Solas have done is grow from where he was at the job he was doing to end up. Was it a city job that you were working?
In Tallahassee?
Yeah.
Yeah. So I was working with the city of Tallahassee, doing GIS. Shout out to Dave Nichols and all the folks over there that gave me my first job when I graduated college at Florida State. Shout out to them. And I took that to, now I'm a project manager here in DC, doing utilities, same thing. So that first job out of college kind of worked, and now that's the career.
Because the thing that I feel like, you know, not too many people do is help each other grow from where we was before to what we could become today and tomorrow. You know, you can honestly say, yeah, you got people that do the same old shit and just live life and everything. But no, you saw something in me that you want me to grow to be something just like you.
Yep.
You know, and I think one of the things that, you know, I introduced you to see my growth was the fact that, you know, like I said, I went from Tallahassee back home to Orlando. But one of the things he got to see, because remember, he saw me struggling trying to get to work and everything because I ain't had a car. But I remember how he was excited that, one, I had a car, but two, the fact that I think it was the same Explorer, somewhat similar than what he had. He had an Explorer. It wasn't something that I thought of, you know, match with him. I like big bodies. So
same here.
when I had my Explorer,
Yeah.
and he got to see it, you know,
It was big.
He started seeing my growth. But also the same thing with the fact that I came to an apartment with nothing, but he see me grinding,
Hustle to get to have
get-
something. Exactly.
So that growth from
Yes.
having nothing
From
to
having the something. Exactly. A lot of people say started from nothing. No, you started from nothing. And you made a way. You made a way, bro. Like, hey, listen, I need more friends with ambition, by the way. I need more friends with ambition. But I do got some solid ones. And one of them is Mike. Let me tell you. That rubs off on you. Like, my man's Keenan, shout out to Keenan, may view the video. He taught me how to smile, legit, because I was an angry little kid coming up from Oxon Hill, right? Didn't have a reason to, you know what I'm saying? I was shielded from a lot of shit happening in Southview, facts. Shout out to the Southview folks. But I was still angry, like going to the Air Force and leaving the area that I knew, right? So Keenan taught me how to smile and what that was. Mike told me to stay focused on what I needed to do, because he was focused on what he needed to do. You know, there's so many people going to tell you can't fucking walk on the Florida State. Fuck you talking about? Stay in the military and be comfortable. No, comfortable wasn't going to give mom his house. Check it out. She's fucking got a house. You know what I'm saying? So it's like, yo, you got to go ahead and make moves and have friends around you that's going to motivate you. So when you talk about growth, it's full circle. He saw me streaming right before COVID started, right? And COVID was a good year for streaming, by the way, because people was home to watch you. Now, coming into 2021, he started streaming. I was showing the blueprint saying, yo, you could play your game, make it a little show, and you can make money off of it. I got paid off Twitch, a couple of checks. You know what I mean? When it comes in, he's like, oh, shoot. Is it a lot? No. But money comes in. You build it, it'll grow. You can get paid from doing something on Twitch. It does not have to be video games. You could be doing carpentry stuff, like my man Mike, little Mike or whatever. You could be doing a bunch of different things. But you can get paid for people watching you. And I showed him that. Also, real quick, before you hop in, the next thing too, when we talk about growth, is him moving up here to play, to do wrestling, following dreams. He saw me moving to Tallahassee to follow my dream. I always would tell my friends, I'm only here to play football. I'm not trying to get caught up in the rah-rah. That's why I was in relationships all through college. I wasn't trying to get caught up with a strag. I swear I wasn't. You know what I mean? Change as an adult, but back then, no. I was the relationship type. And I wasn't trying to get caught up because I knew I was down there to do one thing. So when he said I'm moving to New York to wrestle, I said, yo, how am I going to tell you to not do that? You saw me move to a state that I wasn't used to pursue my dream. You got to have friends out there that still got their eyes focused on dreams, because it's going to motivate you to do different things. My man's was in the crypto. And I'm like, yo, if Mike getting into crypto, I got to get into it. I'm trying to tell you, look, you got to have friends around you that's setting the blueprint of how you can progress further. You never know if you motivating them. Shout out to my boy Kamadi. You know what I mean? I motivated him to do his community college, and he graduated. You know what I mean? Well, Mike, pursue that dream. You love wrestling. You can do it. You can create a personality. He would come down here. Me and Sonia was in here, and he was testing out his promo. That's what's up. You know what I mean? Like, you got to be able to do those things. Have friends around you that's also vulnerable enough to show you what they're really trying to do, their dreams. That's a big thing too. You could be vulnerable around your real friends. You know what I mean? Yeah.
So one of the big things that you touched on is how, and I'm gonna be real, and I think I even told you this, is when you saw an opportunity to grow, the growth was to come back home to where you from the DC area, and that's what you did.
Yeah. It was hard.
And one of the things about especially with friends is there's gonna be times where people fall off because of different things. Some people, jobs, marriage, children, whatever be the case. And knowing that he's moving out to DC and I'm still stuck in Florida, I didn't know what would our friendship would be. Of course we'd be tight, but the fact that he's doing his thing in DC, I don't know. Well, I know there was a tipping stone in my life where it's like, I need to get things right for myself, and I need to grow for myself. So I took the leap of faith to move out of Tallahassee, Florida, to move up north to the New York area to pursue a wrestling career.
Yeah.
But even with me doing all that, we still tight. We're still talking on the phone. But it was another thing where first time ever, and it was somewhere, I would say back 2015, I won't say 2015, 2016, where I actually first came to DC and see where he lived in, all the scopes of DC.
Met moms, yeah.
Met moms,
yeah.
and everything. And it just showed that no matter how much of a distance we would still find ways to still stay in contact, just like the days in Tallahassee. And we don't see each other often, but we still found ways to always keep in contact, and that's one of the things that making this podcast special because I managed to come down to DC a whole bunch of time after the first time.
Yeah, for sure.
But the fact that no matter how much of a distance your friends may be, you always find ways to come together. And the one thing that, I got good friends throughout my life. But when I really thought, and I'm gonna put this out here, and there's no shades to anyone, but I really wish I could have had the people who I was real close with in the high school days. I really wish it could be the same way as I met Solace, because
it's a longer history for sure. 20 plus years with high school. I get you.
Some of the people who I knew from high school, I went to elementary school with, but the friendship hasn't been tight after a situation or whatever be the case, or moving. This dude moved back to DC and still rock with me, even though I might be struggling, I might be hurting in Tallahassee. But when I move up to New York, he's still rocking with me, still talking with me. Like, we're still doing our thing when we was like how we was at the apartment complex at the Village on Tharp in Tallahassee.
Right. We were young, younger than college, you know what I mean? Yeah.
And you don't see a lot of that
you don't.
come to friendship, especially when you're talking about 10 plus years of friendship.
Yeah.
Some friendships die after careers, careers, marriage, kids.
It's people I got to connect back with, like my man Dan. And that's me not following up and getting in contact with Dan, because I know Dan reached out a couple of times. Shout out to Big Dan. Shout out to Dion the son. He doing his thing with the rap and everything. It's people I need to contact with, the same way I'm always in contact with you, Mike. And that's me, not me battling my insecurities, because I got a ton of them. I feel like I'm not at a place where I need to be, and so I fall off with contacting my folks who held me down when I was just a college student. You know what I mean? This is a lesson. This, matter of fact, this podcast is two things. It's a lesson to me. One, in what Mike just said about me having to connect with people that held me down. Like I said, like a Dan. You know what I mean? Few folks other than that, who I connected with in the college scene, who I feel is family. It's me. Me falling off. And then the second thing too, Mike beat me to the punch with a podcast. I've been talking about a podcast for months. And then man, Mike said it, boom, I got the stream going, now I'm gonna do a podcast. And shout out to S for giving him the leeway to find that I think it was AdSense or whatever it is. FM or whatever, Stream FM, something like that. But shout out, a person who I talked to, still connected with my boy, even though me and her fell off, and still helping us out to this day. So that all those things kind of full circle. You know what I mean? And be able to hold those people. And also, remember, if you don't talk to a person for 6 months, a year, if you still got their contact information, you still Facebook friends with them, reach out. You never know if you can rekindle something as adults. And that's something I'm going to go through like right now, because you never know if you be able to help that person or that person be able to help you. You know what I mean? And just being the ear, seeing how things gone, the families that they got set up and things like that. It's a lesson, like I said, have some loyal people around you, man. I wouldn't be where I am if it wasn't for Mike. And that's why I fight for Mike so he could be stable. Because he always said, I want the stability that you have, Saul. And I'm like, man, I'm really hoping and trying for you to get there. You know what I mean? Real talk, because you deserve it. You out there hustling. You got a podcast. You know what I mean? You also moving with the times too. You got to have friends that motivate you. Like he motivates me to do so much, and I motivate him to do so much. I mentioned Kay, motivated Kay to go ahead and get that college degree, because I came back with a college degree. You know what I mean? It's like sometimes you got to be able to see your friends do something so you can believe you can do it. And that's truth.
And speaking of, it's like everything's just, clicking as we go on, with, especially with a couple of the topics and everything. And that's the thing, reaching new heights, as grown men. How we doing things, how, like I said, he introduced me to the whole stream, and it was just something that just came so organic, naturally. None of this stuff was supposed to happen, but certain things lined up for me to even do this, game streaming. So, but the fact that he was already doing that, and I'm hearing him saying numbers, saying views, and all that stuff. I didn't understand it at first, but now that I'm in this thing,
you see it.
I'm seeing it a whole lot and understanding what it all means.
Mm-hmm.
But also the idea of, he touched on the fact that he wanted to see me be stable, and that was something I was really struggling to get, have something stable, especially when it comes to employment. And he always strived for me, even when it's like, send me your resume, we'll see what I could do, or have me
I forgot about that, yo.
Yeah.
That's wild. So many resumes, man. Oh man.
Have me apply for certain jobs
in my area, yeah, because he could be able to stay here for a little while and be able to, make his way. You do that for your friends, though. Like, people know this ain't nothing new. Is when you got friends, I mean friends, not associates, because associates. But for your friends, though, you introduce them to your folks. I met his mom. He met my mom. Like, yo, that's my friend. That's my man's. Like, you do things like that. I've you edit the resume. Look, it took a person editing my resume for me to get the city job back in the day, and you just pay it forward. That's an age old thing, American dream, right? You pay it forward. If someone did something for you, matter of fact, taught me the FAFSA, Mike. She taught me that. I didn't know about a FAFSA, so I came back and I pushed that on the commodity. Get that FAFSA information in, bro. It's free money out there, but you gotta apply for it on this day to be able to get it. Let me edit the resume. You may be able to get a position, but your current resume, they're gonna look at you funny.
Yep.
Look, that's a free fucking, it's a free move. It's free game. Like, let me go ahead and put a little stank on that, so you can be able to get into a better position, so you can win. Because if you winning, I'm boosted. I'm happy. You know what I mean? I'm like,
and it's just the fact, like, how we was, and how we growing in our own perspective in life, doing our own thing, but we doing it where we're growing. I look up to him, especially how he turned what was a completely empty, abandoned basement.
oh yeah, you was there for me putting this together. Yeah.
You see the firsthand, like,
Yeah.
when you see this place of his, it's like, you be amazed.
There was
But
nothing. It was dark
nothing.
concrete.
Nothing.
Shout out to Lil Mike, boss
Shout
by
out to
Ross.
Lil Mike, man.
He built this master carpenter. All this is there because of him. Shout out to T. When she was living here, she came up with the idea of designing a lot of the different things. And of course my friends who helped me move in. Dwight came down to help me put the flooring in. Wanzel, Chris with the electric, Luck with the electric. A lot of people came together to be able to put this thing together, where he was able to see it from the bare bones. But that's kind of our friendship was on the bare bones back in 2005. You see how I did a segue into that one, and we was able to be to a full grown men now, being able to kind of reflect back on what it took for the friendship to happen and what keeps it going to this day.
One of the big things that stop this one.
Yeah, start it back up, no problem. So we talked on a lot of different things today, and I don't want to go on because I know it's about to be like an hour and a half rapping. But I told Mike, I said, Mike, he was doing these little 20-30 minute podcasts, and I was like, Mike, we talk for way longer than that.
It's
Facts.
A podcast that's
Yeah.
The podcast
Yeah.
Having set for 30 minutes.
True. And I was telling him when he came down for Thanksgiving, right? I said, yo, Mike, we rap way longer than that. Way longer. Our phone calls be, maybe an hour because it's a phone call, but in person, 2-3 hours. You know what I mean? Like, come on, we rapping, you know, and it just may be a release session. Don't be afraid to have a release session with your friends. Sometimes they need it more than you know, and it's something free. You just make time. You could either be multitasking, because that's what we do as adults, right? We multitask. I could be maybe doing a game or whatever here, but I'm listening in. It costs no money to do that, but it could be helping your friend and vice versa. When I was going through my shit, you know, bad breakup, me being a fuckboy, Mike came down, yo, get your mind off it, let's get in the gym. And it took me, this was 2016, I got swollen shit. It was all Mike starting it off, you know what I mean? So he was there to listen to me go through my wallows and shit, you know, and I started doing that, like I said, 2005, listening to him when he's talking about Greyhound or Target, whatever the fuck, you know what I mean? And so those are the foundations of a true friendship that can last a long time.
That little first workout here and
there. Yeah, yep. But the pre-workout before we hit Planet Fitness, exactly. That was there saying, all right, you ain't worked out in a while, you wallowing in your own self-pity. Let's start doing some calisthenics here and you know, some cardio here. That was my man's, you know, and that's why I always have his back, because he knows when I fuck up, he gonna have my back. You know what I mean? And I'm always gonna have his back, you know. So that's what it is. You got your friends that fill different roles. You know, I tell my friends this now, is play your position. And look, transparency. Sometimes I fuck up and I don't play my position. You know what I mean? And I learn from that. But everyone's got to play their position. Sometimes you just got to be there to listen to your friend. You know what I mean? Sometimes you got to be there to say, no, you should do this way. Look, I've been through this. I got an experience here. You know what I mean? You know?
So, one of the big things that, of course, happened to both of our lives in one way or another that kind of hit us hard was the fact that we went through a dark time in our lives of losing a loved one.
Yeah. And oh, yeah. I'm thinking, too, did that happen the same year? Was it? When did Mom pass?
2019.
Oh, okay, your mom passed first. Okay, my dad died 2020. Yeah, COVID. Yep.
And
wow.
We had some dark times.
Yeah, man.
We had some dark time personally where, you know, we just felt
rough times,
numbed or just what's the other word I'm looking for? Just empty.
Numb, empty. You know, you water one, you know, you down there, and it just you feel nothingness. It's depressed. You don't want to be there no more. Definitely depression. You going through grief. You going through trauma. Yo, it was tough. And that, like, remember, folks, earlier in the podcast, because I know this has been going on for a while, right? I said I'm so happy I met his mom. That was my only time meeting her. If I would have been an asshole saying, nah, we in Florida to turn up, you know what I mean? I would have never met his mom. And she ended up passing, you know, years later. Now, of course, that was, I think, 2009 when we went down, matter of fact. We went down to Florida, and she passed 10 years later, matter of fact, in 2019. But I could say I met her, you know, and like I will never, we took pictures, and I said I will never forget the expression on her face. I got my dad's picture right here, right? Don't think Mike, I don't think you met my dad, but I remember, let me show the picture real quick, so I know you weren't up here for this one, right? This is Dad, rest in peace, Dad, right? I remember this day because the same way I met Mike's mom is my boys met my dad that same day, and this ended up being the last day that that I saw him alive, right? I think my little Mike went in Kamadi. We went to like a Panama Day parade, and I didn't know he was there. And I heard his voice. He was selling, you know, food, like, you know, our parents, they sell food, you know, empanadas, you know, sauce, you know, things like that. And my eyes lit up because I heard his voice. I ain't seen him in years, you know. He'd be in Panama, maybe in New York, and I heard his voice, and I lit up. Oh. And I remember, because I still had some muscle back in the picture and everything. And I remember I said, yo, with all the dates I went on that year, because I was getting back in the dating market, I was doing a bit. And I said, this is the best day of this year. Me seeing Dad. And I was like I was 5 or 6 again, you know? And that's the same type of experience that I had when I met his mom. You go through grief. He went through it, going down there, talking to her in the hospital. And me going through that because, like I said, my thing was I couldn't even make it to the funeral because of COVID. You know what I mean? He died from COVID complications. And New York was on lockdown. That's where he passed away at. So it was a tough time. You know what I mean? And there was grief a few months early, him having to bury his mom and then hearing about my dad passing. We helped each other through that.
Yeah.
Friendship. It's not all going to be all good times.
No. And that's the thing where, in everything with friendship, relationships is you can always have the good times, the laughters, the turn ups and everything, but when you go through those dark moments and those dark times, it's like, you're really going to see who your true people are, because they could be with you in your happy times in the light. How are they going to be with you when you go into your dark moments?
Real talk.
Sometimes you might not get out of your dark moment because you feeling so depressed because of what happened.
Yep.
But, whoever with you, that for people that could be with you in the dark, to pull you to the light, that's when you could say you got some real folks.
Sun and the moon, and that's your logo.
Yeah.
You got to have friends when both are shining.
Yeah, and this is what Dark Knight Truth Talk is all about. It's just shedding so much light in both sides, where we say a lot of good stuff, but we also say a lot of stuff that happened to us, in bad moments.
Yep.
Where we was in them dark moments,
Mm-hmm.
and
Can still be in bad moments.
Yeah.
You got to have your real people around you so you could be able to pull through. Mike pulled me through. It wasn't just Mike. But 2016 or 2015? 2015 was a fucked up year, and it was all me, self-inflicted, by the way. I fucked that year up. He helped me pull through. So you get things like that's going on, and you're able to bounce. I know it was a dark time. Mom's passing away. 2020, dark time. Dad passing away. You get your friends to be able to help you through. Come through and chill out a little bit. Just come on down, bro. You can stay here. It's cool. We can go out, buy some boots or whatever. It's going to be a tough winter in New York. Shit like that. You got to have your friends around you, man. You know what I mean? That your real friends, that one you can count on. Two, that's not going to be drained by you. That's something, like I said, it might not be for this podcast. Friends can be draining. Have a balance. I'll say it to everyone here, because I do. Friends can be draining. I know my extrovert ass. I drain a lot of motherfuckers. Facts. I'm taking energy and shit. And that can get toxic to certain people, especially introverts. Oh, man. Here go this loud fuck. He's talking and shit. Or, he's doing the most. Make sure you got friends around you that's not going to drain you. And also know when you might drain them and they need to take a break. It's all about the balance of being a friend and having that, like I said, loyalty. I know I'm never going to cross Mike. Never. And I know he's never going to cross me. Exactly. You see what I'm saying? Stamped. Never going to cross. And I've crossed some people. Me being a fuckboy. Facts. Never going to cross Mike. And there's also a lesson too, is saying if I know I'm never going to cross Mike, I got to check myself when it comes to some other folks that considered me a friend and I may have fucked them over. And that's real talk.
Yeah, and what brings this to my, last little topic is just, this is now what, 16 years now?
This is the 16th year here, because we met in 2005. Yeah, this is 16 years.
This is our bond and everything. And back in the
July 2005, yeah.
Them 80s, 90s, when they say your word is your bond, this is how your friendship is. Especially when you have like those mega groups that started out, and you could look see how they is now 20 plus years later, and you see they still rocking.
Hey, you want to talk about that? I know you may not be into the locks, but when they did their verses, not even if you paid attention to it, because that's more of my thing. I'm a New York head. You were able to see that with the locks. They never split up. They've been locked for 30 years, tight. One unit, no breakups, no nothing. Loyalty. They spoke about that. Styles P and Jadakiss, they spoke about that. Sheek Louch, they spoke about it. Loyalty. They said we talk every day. Like, we may not be big, you know what I'm saying, like the when they signed a Bad Boy and shit like that. No. But we always been a group. We're always been one. They went to, school together. You know what I'm saying? They went through the Bad Boy breakup when Diddy was fleecing them for the money. They signed the Rough Riders together. They've been one. And so when they did their verses, it was like they were a unit. They knew each other's lyrics. They memorized the whole set. You saw that loyalty was speaking. And that's kind of what me and Mike got. Is that Locks type of loyalty. Real talk. And like I said, the new one's coming up. That's what I'm interested to see. I'm interested to see because both these new groups, I think it's December 3rd, I think. Bone Thugs versus December 2nd. Bone Thugs versus 666. Both groups had breakups. Let's be facts. Both groups. Right? And so it's gonna be interesting to see the stage presence. That's what I like verses for now. I used to like it for the beats when it started. Now I like seeing the stage presence. I'm a big Ja Rule fan, and I'm gonna end it on this. Right? Big Ja Rule fan. Back in my day. All the albums, all of them. But I knew when 50 came out, he fucked Murder Inc. up. It was over when 50's album came out. He shut that shit down. But I always felt Ja Rule's catalog was better. I was hoping that he was decent because he's been a clown in the media. Fucking clown with the Fire Festival and shit. I was so happy to see how his stage presence was. He still controlled the crowd. Right? So I'm going to be seeing that. What's their loyalty? Matter of fact, don't Bone Thugs got an album called Loyalty? Don't they?
Loyalty? No.
Who was the group that got an album called Loyalty? I swear to God, I think it's Bone Thugs.
No.
Or Busy Bone.
No. With their album, when Flesh came out, their album was called Unified. Unified, the world's enemy. Mm-hmm. They had that.
It's called Strength and Loyalty.
Strength and Loyalty.
There you go. I knew I saw the word loyalty because it was in cursive. What I want to know, because I know Busy didn't fuck with the rest of Bone Thugs for a minute.
Yeah.
I know that's your boys. And I also know DJ Paul has some words for certain 3-6 members. Facts. Yeah. So I want to see how they look as a unit because guess what? People can know when people come back together and the union is fake. Real talk. You're never going to be able to see that between me and Mike. Yeah. There's no fake here. But, hey, people may be trying to, show me face. And I'm the fake one. That's putting it on me. I know I got to do some soul searching for me. Because I need all of my friendships to be like how me and Mike's friendship is. And I know I fell off a lot. But when it comes to this verses that's coming up, you're going to be able to see it. Because we saw it with like 112 against Jagged Edge. Holy shit. It was a shit show.
Was it?
Yes, it was bad because the groups weren't together. Listen. A lot of groups, a lot of friendships sour throughout the years. So when you're hearing Dark Knight Truth Talk, you're hearing a guy that's got loyalty over like everything. Real talking. And it's also lessons he's teaching me right now. And it's these groups that's coming up on like the verses and stuff, you're going to hear, it's going to be some of that. Luck showed us how it works. I was talking to my homie Keish. Shout out to Sis. And I was like, yo, Dipset had a run. I thought Dipset was going to mop these dudes. Because when fucking their joint come on, Dipset, Anthem come on, Santana's come, I'm like, oh, they going to murder these. Wrong. Wrong. Shout out to Charlie Murphy. Wrong. I was so wrong. Because Locks whooped them down. And that's what I'm trying to see. You're going to see who's loyal as a group and who's just coming together for a check. Watching these verses. And you also see it in friendships every day. I'm going to leave it on that right there. You see who's really friends and who kind of fell off throughout the years. And the lesson for me, because this is therapeutic for me, is I need to strengthen my bonds with folks who held me down that I may have fell off with over the years. And have that bond to be game tight like it is with my man Mike.
And with all that said, like I said, when you have friendships like this that last for so long, you see the loyalty, you see the bond, you see the foundation.
Yeah.
This is something that it's not even about me preaching. This is about me speaking so much truth to every single person I meet in my life, especially with relationships. This is something I want to grow with that particular woman, that the way that I have my friendship with Solace for this long, that's how I see my relationships turn out to be.
And it's showing that you can do that because you had it with someone, who is like your brother. You could definitely have that with someone who you intimate with, that you wanted to, to grow as a girlfriend and then further.
And, for stuff like this that lasts so long, like I said, I got many other friends before him and after him, but this dude became so much of a truth that there's no other guy like Solos. There's no other type of man that would be the way he was, and I wouldn't replace him with nobody else.
Same. Like, there's no Mike. Like I said, there's very few people you can count on, and Mike's one of them. And we learn from each other. We rap, we talk. We're from two different sides, basically. I'm from the East Coast, he from the South. Like, who would have thought one fucking class would bring two cats together? like a 5-6 week class, if that. Because this was a short class, by the way.
Yeah. and the one big thing...
Crazy.
And the one big thing that, I'm going to touch up on is we have so many different likes, but at the same time, I listen to what he likes, and I want to know what make him like certain things.
Yeah.
But he also got to see the things that I like, and see how I interact with those things. Like,
you was big on Cleopatra. I remember that.
Yes.
Big on Cleopatra. I was Brandy. We both were listening to women artists back in that day, and that's something different for guys, especially in fucking Tallahassee. Let's keep it 1,000, right? These Florida boys listening to Trick Daddy and Desloc and DJ Chipman, all this other stuff like that. T-Pain when he was coming up, and he was listening to Cleopatra, and there was another group. I keep wanting to say 702, but I don't think it was 702. It was Cleopatra, Brownstone, I think it was, or something like that. Whatever. And I would listen to like Brandy, Ashanti, what I'm saying? A-Marie from DC, shout out to A-Marie, and different sides of the same coin. Because people outside of us would view us, we're guys listening to majority women artists. But that, I think, even though we never really talked about it like that, that's something that brought us together. There was similarities in the differences, if that makes sense.
And then here's another thing that was a factor too.
Mm-hmm.
He also got to see, and he met me, the fact I'm from an HBCU.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
I marched for an HBCU.
The band. Yep.
Alabama State University.
Shout out Marching Hornets, right? Yeah. Shout out to the Hornets.
I don't know, like, it's one thing you could say that you've seen the band, you probably hear about these bands, but for you to actually get to know someone and didn't even know that was a thing, that was a big thing.
Is that the reason why you didn't go to FAM?
No, they came to my school.
Okay.
They,
All
they
right.
came. They came to my school.
Yeah.
Recruited.
I always wanted that experience, by the way. This is something I never really told you about it. Dr. Walter Johnson came to the hotel that I was working, because I was always at the front desk. I was always working, right? I was in school and working, like I was focused. And he was like, yo, why are you trying to go to Florida State? Sir, I'm trying to play football. He was like, look, man, you got to walk on to go there and everything. I can get you in to FAM, right? And it's like I said, this is a regret. I wanted to do both. I loved going to Florida State, but I also wanted that experience of being around my people. And you know what the fuck we're talking about when we say that, right? To be at a PWI is one thing. To where those kids are going to be, there's a greater chance of them going to the NFL. That's what I was thinking. But I feel my college experience would have been different and maybe more enriched if I chose to go to FAM. And that's something that I regret. I wanted to do both. Like if I could do a grad school, because I did grad school, I got my master's. I would have loved to get that at FAM and still be able to have that experience of going to a HBCU, because that's very important. And I feel more people should consider that. Being it was pushed in my face. Dr. Johnson had a building named after him. He definitely could have got me in, going to FAM. It may not have been scholarship, but I would have been in. You know what I mean? And that's something, like I said, Mike was able to experience, Jess was able to experience it, and I wish I would have too, because FAM was popping, and it's rich history. You know, I see FAMU students up here in DC and Maryland all the time. I see a few Florida State students in here, all the time. But it's a greater attachment to that HBCU for folks that are ingrained in that culture, and that's something that I definitely missed out on going to college.
So,
Marching bands is real.
yeah.
Real talk.
So at the end,
Yeah.
I just want to say, if you got somebody who you grew up with or you bonded with in whatever scenario in life, you never know what that person could be for you in the future.
Yeah.
And so loyalty is something very, not just important, but very huge, that it could be empowered. It could take you places that you never expected, because how one person move up in life and just kind of uplift you, even if you struggling and you in the bottom, it don't matter. You will always find that person to lift you up to reach the standards and place that your friend is at. And that's what my homie Solid, he did for me.
Yeah. Vice versa.
He saw, like, where he is now, what he was doing back then. He doing big stuff, especially with jobs. And I'm struggling to get by with jobs.
Nah, you doing it big. You got your schedule lined up, and that's another thing too. You guys seeing what the strength of a real friendship is. My man was trying to talk down on himself because he's not where he wants to be. But Mike, you are doing some big things. Remember I told you to make that list, right?
Yeah.
Big things. You started a podcast this year. Sometimes you got to look at the little things you're doing to realize they're big things. There's people out there that want to do those things. Let me give you a few. You got your list, but these are the few just I remember off the top of my head. In 2021, you started a podcast. Facts. There's people out there that's on their wish list. I'm going to look at you. That's true. Starting a podcast to get their voice out there is something that's still on people's wish list. You did that this year. And you were the one to do it, by the way, because that's something I have not done yet. It was on my wish list. 2, you started streaming. That's big. You started expressing yourself. We played video games to kind of calm down and anything like that. Watch shows, do recaps, reactions, all that. You started doing reactions. I saw that too. You started doing streaming. That's 3 things right there. You got a schedule with your job too. You got a career popping. Facts. That's something big. Remember, entirely. We wanted that. I got a career. I'm working from home. It's great. Shout out to the folks. You got a career too. Working with your crew. Multiple jobs, multiple places you can be plugged into. You're doing that. You know what I mean? 2022, your own place. You got to speak it into existence.
Yeah.
You got to speak it into existence. Real talk. You're in your own place. You're in New York, you don't got to drive. You know, so if you can be up there live, you can move to another place. You may have to actually, you know, be mobile. But New York, public transportation is A1. You know what I mean? You don't. You know, so. But listen, real talk. Because I don't want to get off giving you your flowers. Listen, those 4 or 5 things I just mentioned take people years to do. Those are things you did in 1 year. And this is the rebound year off COVID. You know what I mean? And you held a job down doing COVID.
Yep.
Hey, so taking it back to last year, a lot of people relied on that government assistance shit. And now they struggling because that money ran out. You got a career out of the mud, out of the rubble. All those things you should be you should be thankful for, and knowing that you're still striving. You've never had a time to just sit back and fall off and fall into the pit. You've always grabbed the wire, grabbed the rope, and pushed your way up.
Keep going.
Exactly. So don't knock yourself on that just because you see this. You know this came with a struggle. This came with loss.
Yes.
This came with loss, and you know that.
Yes, it is.
You know what I mean? Big loss. I lost a fuck ton. This is plan C. My plan A was football. I'm not playing football. You know what I mean? You know? This is plan C and shit. You know? So, what I'll take from that, Dark Knife, Truth Talk, thank you for having me on. This is one of my best friends. Like I said, I got others like Cav, Daryl, my cousin Dwight. You know, I don't talk to Vanessa like that too much now, but V held me down. Big Scott, Big Mo held me down in the Walmarts, you know, 2 a.m. just walking, talking about life, listening to Neo Soul, Dwele, Anthony Hamilton, things like that. My man Keenan taught me how to smile, like I said. All my folks, and of course, you know, Dave, my man Mike, Antonio, helped me out with math. Love you, bro. Listen, Dan, can never forget you. My man Joe, definitely got to reconnect. Love you, Joe. You know, and my folks that I grew up with. Listen, try to get bonds like we just explained for damn near 2 hours. But also, too, don't cut off your people. Because I'm trying to tell friends, and I ain't gonna say no names, that may have cut me off for good fucking reason. Like I said, fuck boy extraordinaire, right? But also, too, if you're in a position where someone may have, you know, did something you didn't like, you never know if that person's gonna come and be of use, either to you growing or to an opportunity that you might be preventing yourself from getting if you cut them off now. Keep them. It may not be close, but don't sever the bridge, don't burn the bridge, because you never know if it'll help you out in the future. And that's something that I'm hoping that people can translate with. Mike would have seen I came with everything. I had the car, I had my own place. But I knew then, this is a guy I gotta keep around. This is a guy I gotta keep around. You know what I mean? I would have never known he would be the man to come down from New York to help me through a dark time in my life. It was him. He came through. 2005, I didn't know that. But that's my man's. You see what I'm saying? So, in the podcast with that is to keep your friends loyal, but don't burn the bridge. There's no reason to. Even if people may have effed you over, you keep them at a certain distance. But don't burn the bridge, because you never know if an opportunity may come to from that person that's across that bridge in the future. And I keep it on that, man. Thanks for having me on your podcast. I love you like a bro, you know, and it's going to be, you know, 15, 20 more years.
Definitely. And, big shout out to Solace.
Big shout out to you, man. I'm proud of you.
Come to this podcast
Yeah.
and speak truth.
True talk.
On, friendship.
Yeah.
And everything.
It's my man's.
This is, life lessons that we're giving you, so.
Now you can speak to that camera right there so they can see this too, right there. Just go ahead and speak right in here and give your sign off.
So, again,
yeah.
This is Dark Knight Truth Talk.
Facts.
This is Mike, and I'm signing out.
OG Mike 407 on Twitch.
Follow me on Twitch.
Yeah. You got the Dark Knight, is it Dark Knight Games on YouTube?
Dark Knight Games on YouTube.
Facts. That's Dark Knight Games on YouTube. You can find me, Reggie vs. Solace, on all social medias.
Yep.
The Facebook page is there, but this is not about me. This is about my man Mike. Big podcast. Thank you for having me on. This is what we do normally, just talk. We can be playing games with each other, or or I'm playing one game here on the computer, he playing a game on the big screen, rapping. Back when we were playing no games, we'd be on the stoop out front, rapping. You know what I mean? Healing, venting, getting things off your mind, so you can wake up a better person.
Yep.
He made me a better person. I'm making him a better person. That's friendship.
And on that note, we out.
Thanks for tuning in, guys.
Peace.